In this video, I'm going to show you how to embroider a decorative neckline. It's actually much easier than you think. The design includes decorative elements and a clean satin edge that frames the neckline beautifully. I'll be showing two variations, one with a cord and one with small paws. Alright, now let's get started. The first step is preparing the garment. Start by turning the shirt inside out. If your fabric is soft or stretchy, iron a lightweight stabilizer onto the wrong side where the neckline will be. This keeps it stable while stitching, but again, it's optional. Next, mark the center of your shirt with a pin or a disappearing fabric marker. A pin is usually the better choice since it won't leave any marks behind. The next step is stitching the placement line. Hoop a medium-weight tearaway stabilizer and run the placement stitch on your embroidery machine. This outline is an exact guide for where your neckline will go. Now, it's time to align the shirt. Place the t-shirt over the placement line, making sure it's perfectly aligned. Don't hoop the shirt itself, just let it float over the stabilizer. This makes adjustments much easier. Now, it's time to align the shirt properly, and this part is really important. If the fabric isn't lined up correctly, the neckline embroidery can come out uneven or off-center. So take your time with this step. Next, stitch the tack-down seam. Run the next step of the embroidery design, which secures the fabric to the stabilizer. If your design includes an extra running stitch for placement, let that step finish first. Before moving forward, carefully trim away any excess fabric along the tack-down stitches. Cut as close as possible to the seam for a clean, professional look. If you're doing an applique embroidery technique, this is where you'd stop the machine, trim away the extra fabric, and then continue stitching. Now let's talk about scissors, because having the right pair makes a huge difference when trimming fabric for embroidery. You need a sharp, precise tool to get clean cuts, especially around detailed areas like the neckline. For trimming excess fabric after the tack-down stitch, I always use small, curved embroidery scissors. The curved tip helps you get close to the stitches without accidentally cutting into them, which is super important for achieving a neat, professional finish. I personally use two different brands, Kai and Fiskars. Both are great, but they each have their own pros and cons. Kai 4-inch curved needlecraft scissors are my absolute favorite. They're incredibly sharp, cut through fabric like butter, and give you really precise control. If you want the cleanest, most accurate cuts, these are a fantastic option. Now let's add the final touch, the satin stitch edge. The machine will stitch a smooth satin border around the neckline, giving it that polished, professional look. If your design has extra details like lace edges or decorative elements, just follow the steps in the embroidery file sequence to complete those. Once the embroidery is finished, carefully remove any excess stabilizer. If you use tearaway stabilizer, gently tear it off. If you used wash-away stabilizer, rinse it under warm water to dissolve it completely. And that's it! Your embroidered neckline is ready to go. Now, let's go over the materials you'll need. If the fabric is soft or stretchy, adding some extra stabilization will help keep everything in place. For that, I recommend using an iron-on lightweight stabilizer. This helps reinforce the fabric and prevents stretching during embroidery. If your fabric is stable, you can skip this step. You'll also need a medium-weight tearaway stabilizer or a wash-away stabilizer, depending on your project. Tearaway stabilizer is great for sturdy fabrics. It supports the design and can be easily removed once the embroidery is done. Wash-away stabilizer works best for delicate fabrics or lace designs because it dissolves completely in water, leaving no residue behind. To mark the center of your shirt, you can use either a pin or a disappearing fabric marker. I personally prefer using a pin since it avoids any leftover ink marks. Another useful tool is water-soluble topping, also known as WSS topping. This goes over your fabric before stitching and prevents the embroidery from sinking into soft or textured fabrics. It makes the stitches look crisp and clean, and once you're done, you just rinse it away with water. There are so many cute and creative ways to customize your neckline embroidery. You can experiment with different decorative elements, try lace edges, or even mix and match fabrics to create something truly unique.